This week on Tracking Trends, we're focusing on fur. As you know, this season's must-have is a fake fur garment. Real or fake, it's the ultimate luxury fabric, which has never lost its appeal as a fashion statement. We explore the world of fur in today's fashion industry to find out if faux fur is taking over or if real fur is here to stay. We enter Maisie's studio, where she designs and makes real fur items.
Mink's really fine fur, so it's quite hard. It's very delicate to work with. Fox is more your standard fur. I mean, I think it's a lot thicker, the skin, and I think for the old school furriers, it's going to be hard because I think they're going to die down. Like, I know I worked with a guy in London, but I also interacted with a guy in Manchester when I was like working for uni, and they're just two of a handful in the country, and they're slowly dying, but obviously the designers are keeping the fur in the industry. There's a lot of workmanship that goes into the creation of just one fur garment. I mean, one fur garment could take 3 weeks to create, and it's the whole process that goes into it. I mean, when you first get a skin, it's the size of their body, and you do this process where you apply the water and oil, and then obviously you nail it to a table. But as you're doing it, you can pull it along, and it either stretches or you can shrink it. And that whole process could take 2 or 3 days to stretch out the skin.
Antique dealer Yvonne has collected a range of furs throughout the years.
Well, it's very fashionable at the moment, but I've always had furs. I've had them since the 70s, when they were really quite fashionable then. As soon as I felt old enough to be able to wear fashionable clothes. But I don't mind if it's faux fur or real fur. I like both. I think they're glam. They're quite glam. I'm not saying I'm glam, but I think they make you feel glamorous. You wore them with your black tights and your Mary Quant eyes, and it was good fun at that time. But I've always kept my fur coats. They were vintage when I got them, and they're still vintage. That is a beautiful coat. And that has got a lovely labelling, lovely lining. It was made in Belgium. I've had that one about 20 years now. But it is a super coat. It's black mink, which is very nice. And I think even now that would cost about £4,000. I'll show you my favourite one. That's my leopard. And I love that. It's a bit worn, but it's really nicely made. And I mean, this is probably in the 30s, was done in the 30s. It's got slits up the side, and you can see all the nice pelts.
For previous fashion and textiles lecturer Sally, she has created a faux fur empire.
And it's just grown, and I've used a lot of synthetic fabrics, and particularly now we've become interested in using fake fur, or faux fur as it's called. That fur has had to be used over the centuries, mostly for insulation. Obviously with the cave people, killed animals, ate their meat and used their fur skins to sleep in or to make rough clothes from, because tailoring wasn't around then. And it's progressed through the centuries, and obviously different countries, you think of Russia and the cold and the Eskimos, they all needed real fur to keep them warm. Clothes got a bit more simpler after the French Revolution. They became more streamlined, and women wore less clothes and they were cold. So for practical reasons, muffs came into fashion, and muffs were made from fox fur or, you know, real fur, rabbit skin. After the First World War, a bit more simplified. People like Coco Chanel were coming along and wanting clothes to become mass produced and commercial. And so she was looking at alternative fabrics, looking at producing synthetic fabrics, and in about 1929 they made a fake fur fabric from synthetic fibres, but it wasn't then really commercially available until the 50s. So you get this shift of being able to use brighter colours. We use it in preference to real fur. I just wouldn't want to work with real fur, you know, I've got a few issues about it. They've produced such wonderful fake fur fabrics, and we use brilliant colours. Some fabrics look like animal skins, some have wonderful textures in them, and it's just exciting to work with such a range of unusual fabrics. Marble effect, again, different textures, different patterned fur. Going to a more traditional one here really, people still want it to look more like real fur. So we've got this one. And again, on trend, we followed the combo look that's in. So we've got a combat fabric here, camouflage, mix it in with pinks, blacks. It's just like a jigsaw, really. It's great fun.
Currently I work with a lot of fake fur as well, and as commercial as it is, you can get like qualities of fake fur which is completely, if you didn't look at the backside of the fabric, you'd think it's real. It's that the quality coming through nowadays is that good. But I mean, I never think that real fur is gonna die down. I think as long as the fashion houses are going to carry on bringing out collections each season with different fur coming out, I think it's just gonna carry on. It's gonna build. I mean, right now, I think when we went through the 90s was a period where real fur was frowned upon and people didn't want to wear it, and there was all the protests against it. But recently, the past few years, it's made a huge comeback, and I think it's just going to build and build and build, and the future for fur is massive.
But of course the faux fur that's around now, I also like that. Whether it's faux fur or modern fur, it seems glamorous. It makes you feel quite grand and not too old lady-ish. It still seems to be a young fashion as well as a fashion for older people. But if you've got access to a vintage coat, your grandma had one or something in the wardrobe, or you were interested in antiques and you can buy it cheaply, then why not wear it? Looks good. Things are very fashionable at the moment to have faux fur, and I like fur trimmings on clothes. And what's good about the faux furs are everyone can afford them, but the effect is the same. It's a glamorous effect. I quite like that.
It was in opposition to real fur, but got the look of the opulent fabric, you know, it had an appeal for celebrities, and we've proved that really by selling it to people like Suki Waterhouse. It's out there on social media, and we get so many likes for it. We get Vogue asking to borrow the jackets, and I just think it's making people realise that you don't have to wear real fur to get that luxurious look.
Join us next week, where we track down the power of super brands, high-end or high street, the influence designer brands are having on people in today's society. See you next week.